Hello folks, this is Scotty from Raising Fishes. So today we're going to go to part 3 of my series that I've been doing. I'm doing for 6 months. This is be the 3rd month of water changes on my planted tanks. Hasn't made a difference. So let's get into it. All right, so a few months back, we'll go back and kind of recap part 1 and part 2. You know, back a few months ago, I wasn't water changing my planted tanks. My parameters were always good. Nitrates were fine. Plants are taken care of because my tanks, like you see, they're pretty heavily planted. So my mindset was, well, parameters are good. I don't need to change water. Well, I've since changed my mind, as you noticed in part 1 and part 2 of this series. So, how has it done for me? Have I seen a difference? Yes or no? So, the difference I am seeing is mainly, I know a lot of folks don't test TDS, but my TDS numbers have definitely come down. In my spreadsheet that I will show you later on, I've been tweaking it as I go through it and see things. I don't like it this way, I don't like it that way, so I've been tweaking it. So what I did with all of the nitrogen, the water tests, and in the TDS, on the individual page for each tank, it is what day I tested it and what reading. And then to the side of that, I made an average. So it averages those columns. It averages out my nitrogen levels, my nitrate levels, my pH and all that, and my TDS as well. So with that said, on the main page, that's my display page that tells me up front, hey, you need a water change. Hey, you need to update, you need to change your filter, or you need to clean a filter. Sponge filters are due. Canister filters are due. Your sump is due. All those different things. So on the main page, as far as TDS and the water test for nitrates and pH and all that stuff, that's all shows as averages. So I'll give you an example. I had one tank when I first set it up, or not even when I first set it up, for some odd reason, I had a nitrite level reading of about 1 or 2. Well, when you go average that against a bunch of zeros, you still come up with like an average of 1. My newly set up 20 long, which is right behind the camera, when I first set it up, you know, it wasn't cycled, so I was taking readings from it and I added it into the spreadsheet. And so I think the nitrite was at like 6 or 7, and so I have an average right now. I think, well, it shows 4 as I'm looking to the spreadsheet right now. But anyway, I definitely noticed a difference in TDS for sure. That's a no-brainer. My water clarity, I will say, has gotten better for sure, in especially my dirted tanks. They tend to get a little, how I say, golden water a little bit. And, you know, part of that is I stick catappa leaves in my planted tanks as well. So that puts some, you know, tannins in the water and makes it kind of golden. At one point, this tank right here, I'd got some different catappa leaves. I normally get them through Coarium Co-op, and I've never had a problem with them leaching tons of tannins into the water, just very slightly. Well, I bought this big batch from this thing on Amazon, and they're big leaves, they're huge. Well, I stuck one in here a while back, and I think I had a video on it. And oh my goodness, it turned this water brown real quick, like overnight. So I'm like, okay. So now what I do with those leaves, I soak them first and drain the water out, put more water in there, soak them a little more, drain the water out until the tannins are mostly out of it. And then I break the leaves up into smaller pieces and throw them in here. And my other tanks, and also my outside tub, I throw them out there as well. But yeah, I can say for sure that water changes have definitely done better for me. Was I being lazy by not doing them? Not really. I mean, some may say I was lazy, but I'm saying, yeah, maybe I was lazy. But really, now that I've got this spreadsheet with this schedule, I mean, it literally, I open it up every day, and if there's anything that needs to be done that day, then I do it. And we'll notice today when I show you the spreadsheet, my 125 is do a water change. So I have all my planted tanks set to do a water change once a month. And I was doing the same thing for like the sponge filters and I have the Ciche Nano whales, or whatever you want to call it, Ciche Nano in tank filters. And man, I love those things. They are like really awesome. Matter of fact, there's one right here. So I'd set them up to be monthly as well. But I have found that those little Ciches work so well that they plug up pretty quick. So I haven't updated my spreadsheet yet to set it to like every 2 weeks to just pull them out, clean the sponges, and put them back in. But I need to do that because I'm noticing that you can start seeing the flow slow down, with those filters, because they really do clean very well. Another thing I've done since last segment 2 is I'd got some new filter type material, and I put it in all of my hang on back, my title series. So there's a title here and a title there, and I also have another title on my 125 in the living room. So I just recently put that filter media on the very top of the the filter housing, and we're testing to see how well that material does. I've also, because I have just little bitty scraps left, I also put some in, I think 1 or maybe even 2 of my little Ciche Nanos here. And I've actually, on my 29 gallon, I've had to clean it once already since I put it in there. And the material cleans out pretty good. So I'm kind of liking that filter pad. And also out on my outside tub, the TMU filter that I got, it's like a above ground sump basically, or above tank sump. In the very top, I have nothing, the water comes in and there's nothing but sponges on the bottom, and I put a layer of that new filter media on the very top as well. So I haven't cleaned that yet. Haven't even tried because everything's looking good so far. So we'll see how that tends to go. But for those of you that are anti water changes on planted tanks, I can just say, to each his own. You can do it the way you want. I think for me, it's been a benefit, as far as TDS. We have really hard water here. And, between all the plants, and the plant material that, plants die, leaves die, and they fall down, the fish waste, the food waste, all of that builds up, and that all accumulates in your TDS. Along with what's ever in your water, that you're putting in there from the tap. So it's a good idea for me. That's me personally. I'm just saying that's what I'm doing, and it's been working good for me. So I think for part 3, we're doing pretty good. Show you my tanks, what they look like, and Then we'll go to the spreadsheet and just kind of walk you through what I've done. All right. So this here's my 75-gallon tank. All right. It's a community tank. You can see I have the pogo stem in there. I have some Java fern. I have some stem plants. There's big chunks of wood there in the back corner. And, you know, there's lots of fish in here. They're doing very well. Tank looks very good and clean. So over here is my 40 breeder. As you can see, the plants in that thing is like super thick. And, you know, in here is my dwarf neon rainbows. And I have some black neon tetras. I have, I think, one neon tetra left. And then my Empire gudgeons in here, which stay hidden 99% of the time. So let me just kind of walk this way a little bit. So this is a 10-gallon tank. It's a shrimp tank, and it also has my CPDs in there. So they're in there hiding in the plants basically. So let's swing over to this guy. So this guy is my 5.5 gallon, and this one has some shrimp in it, but it also has my killifish in there. So I have two golden killifish. They are a male and female. I'm trying to see if they'll ever breed, but I haven't seen any breeding habit. They kind of dislike each other, I think. So maybe someday they'll figure themselves out and pair up. Who knows? All right, next thing is we'll swing over here. I'm trying to stop the glare, but this is my 29-gallon. Once again, this is a dirted tank as well. And this is just guppies. I have some algae eaters in here. I have hillstream loaches in here. And this is the tank that my plecos gave birth. And so I had a bunch of baby plecos in here. There's probably still more in here. I just can't see them. I think I've pulled 6 babies out of here so far. And distributed them to different tanks, and I put 2 of them outside in my outside tub. And also in here I have a pair of swordtails, male and female. And then down here, kind of get a little lower, this is my newly set up 20-gallon long, and this has my forktail rainbow fish in here. I just got them the other day, so they're really tiny. The tank is just recently cycled. You know, this tank isn't but maybe 3 weeks old, maybe 4 weeks if we're lucky. So it's not really fully established yet. I planted a bunch of seeds in here, and a bunch of it died off, and there's still some living. I got some pearlweed in there, some anubias, and some crips in the back. So at some point this tank will take off and do pretty good, but you know, right now I'm having hair algae issues, which is fine. You know, tank's got to cycle and fill itself out and balance itself, so it's going to take a little while for that to get done. Patience is the key, and not to fret and worry about it, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that's fine. So let's go take a look at my 125. All right, folks, so this is the 125. I'm trying to stay back so you don't get all the glare and everything in here, but let me zoom in on it. So this tank, this tank is doing super well. And this is the one that's due a water change right now. But as you can see, the water's crystal clear already, but it's still going to get a water change. It is full of different varieties of anubias. Mostly the large leaf anubias is the Bardiera, I guess you call it. And, you know, in here I have my denison barbs, I have rainbow fish, I have an angelfish, I have corydoras, I have serpentetras. There is a couple of, what do you call them, plecos in here. Hardly ever see them. And I also have 2 yo-yo loaches in here. And don't know where they're hiding either, but they're in here. So this is the 125. Let's walk out to my garage, and we'll look at my 20 tall that used to be in my fish room, but when I set up the 20 long, I moved it out to the garage. So let's get to that one. All right, folks. So this is the 20 tall. Well, it's really glaring. Sorry, but you can see my bald head. But this just has guppies in it, shrimp, and a pleco. That's it. And it's sitting out here in my garage. And then below it is I have, this is my green water tub. And I don't know if we're going to be able to see them, but there's a bunch of rice fish fry in here. I'm growing them out from my outside tub. That the rice fish have bred like crazy. So I even pulled the socks out so I don't, or not the socks, but yeah, the mops, I guess you call it. I pulled them out because I don't need any more eggs. But anyhow, that is a run through of my planted tanks. And you know, this tank it's really unique because it sits outside in my garage, and the sunlight comes in through the garage because I have the garage door open. And every day, those plants right there just start pearling. That sunlight, it's amazing what sunlight will do compared to an aquarium light. So anyhow, that's it for looking at my tanks. Now let's go look at the actual spreadsheet and we'll go from there. Okay, folks, so this is my spreadsheet that I use. This is the main dashboard. And as you can see, my 125 says it's due. None of my other tanks are due. I have recently added my 20 long in here, so it's now added to it. One of the things I mentioned earlier is I do this averages. So this is pulling the averages from each different tank. So as you can see, the average this is 366, and it goes down in the 200s, and so on. So these are the averages. And remember I told you about the nitrite. So I had a couple tanks when for some reason this one had a reading of 1 or 2 or whatever, and when it averages out you still get 1 till you have more and more tests done. Same way with my 20 long. When I first set it up, it wasn't cycled yet, so you know we still had nitrite in it. So let's look at one of these tanks here. Let's see which tab here. So this is my 180 gallon. Probably a bad example because it's not a planted tank. So let's look at my 125. So my 125 is a planted tank. You saw it. So I've tested the TDS on February 7th, February 26th, March 29th, and these are the readings: 245, 230, 222. But if you go over, if I scroll over, you see the average TDS is 232, okay? So same way with my water testing. So latest water test was done on March 29th. It's going to be due a month from now. I've been doing them every month basically. And these are the dates I've tested them, and these are the readings that I've had. And for some reason I'm missing data in here. I have to figure what I did there. But anyway, all that does is, so my nitrates, nitrates, you see the readings. So the average is 30 for this tank. Nitrite, the average is 0. The GH and KH are all averaging out, and your pH is averaging. So, and the chlorine, you know, is averages of 0. So that's really basically it, you know, and each tab has a different tank, you know, 75 gallon, 40 gallon, 29 gallon, you know, the 20 long. This is, like I say, just recently set up. So you can see I've only done the TDS once, and that was on April 5th. Like I say, this tank is brand new, so it's only been set up just, you know, not even a month yet. So, and I've tested the water, you know, basically for the cycle to see. And you can see at one point on April 13th, my nitrite level was 10. But when you get to the average right now, it's reading 4, you know. So that just gives you an idea, you know, when you're trying to average, when you have a higher reading, you know, it's going to average out different when you eventually it's going to say a whole bunch of zeros, and it should average out to 0 over time. So if I looked on the main dashboard for this thing, let me go back to the main dashboard for the 20 long. So the 20 long, the average is saying 4. So it's reading off of that page. Anyway, folks, so that is my spreadsheet that I'm using. That's how I've been managing the maintenance on my tanks. It's really helped me not to miss maintenance. You know, sponge filters, I'm gonna be honest with you, they're probably the most abused filter used in the hobby today, because we put them in a tank and, you know, we leave them in there, and next thing you know, they're growing, and they're not they're not supposed to be growing with plants and algae and everything else. You know, we should be cleaning them. So you know, this helps me to remember to pull that sponge filter out, rinse it out, get it cleaned out, put it back in, and then it will do its job the way it's supposed to. So that's a big thing with sponge filters. And, you know, maintenance on your hang-on backs or whatever. Pretty much this helps me. Water changes, you know, yeah, it's good, but I've had a pretty good habit with water changes anyway. As far as like my 180, that's every 2 weeks I do the 180 without fail. I used to do it every week, but it's just the water really between the sump and the FX6 and all the beneficial bacteria that's all over the tank and in the sump and in the FX6, it really takes care of itself, even though there's no live plants in it. So I just do it every couple weeks, and it keeps it in good shape. So alrighty, I'll end it here. If you have any questions, comments, or whatever, please leave a comment. Anyway, folks, that is